think that, you know, looking at where job growth is going and how congestion impacts job growth is an important part of the prioritization question. I mean, we know that companies moved to Frederick because their employees were living in Frederick and just simply didn't want to commute down 270 every day. We also know that a huge amount of the growth, the stat I heard last week was over the past 6 months of the net jobs that have come to the Washington region, 80% of them have gone to Northern Virginia. So we know that people are getting in their cars in Montgomery County and driving across the American Legion Bridge every day. And so job growth is impacted by congestion in a really big way, and where the jobs are growing impacts where the congestion is. And so in terms of priorities, I do think it would be important to start looking at moving up projects that would help us from a very parochial Montgomery County perspective in making room for job growth. I think the hot lanes on the Beltway are a really good example of a project that is probably pretty far down the pipeline right now, but that donut hole will cause big problems in terms of the traffic going back and forth from Montgomery County to Northern Virginia every day. So that's just an added mitigating factor here.
No, thank you. Does anybody have a question? Oh, yay. Yeah, I'm so excited. Wait, could you do me a favor? Because we're recording. Could you stand up and say who you are, and then Harvey will take your card?
Right.
Thanks.
My name is Ajay Bhatt. I'm president of Southeastern Construction, and I'm a resident in Montgomery County as well. But just a quick question. Why didn't we incorporate the hot lane project into something on the Maryland side?
That's all you got.
That's easier than you might think. Yeah. Maryland's law, actually, we have a public-private partnership process really began in the mid-90s, about the same time as Virginia. We actually used sort of the Virginia model originally, and put out there at the time that we would invite unsolicited proposals for public-private partnerships for transportation purposes. We, however, in Maryland, specifically excluded highways as an option. I mean, that was a policy decision that the state made. So Virginia did not make that decision. We have proceeded with public-private partnerships in other areas at our airport and our port, and are looking at some with regard to transit-oriented development and the Maryland Transportation Authority. But I think this issue is one that the General Assembly has been wrestling with for the past couple of years. And I will tell you, it's been a very strong debate on both sides for people who think that we should be doing more public-private partnerships and we should be including roadways, and those who really believe that in Maryland that's not traditionally been the way we funded things, and that we really need to take a hard look before we turn assets over to that. However, there was legislation that was passed last session creating a public-private partnership commission. And that commission is in the process of being appointed, and I think that it is, the purpose of that is really to get all of these issues out on the table and to have a full and frank discussion so that Maryland can decide as a state where it wants to go with regard to the range of public-private partnerships.
And also, I will add, there is an ongoing study at the Maryland Department of Transportation looking at the portion of 270 from I-370 or the Sam Ike Highway down across that western spur and to the American Legion Bridge. There is a study in place already going on that. But the point is, and I'm one who's advocated for years that we allow public-private partnerships, because if you look at the future and the funding needs for these big mega projects, there's two ways you're going to fund them. Some kind of tolls, public-private partnerships can be part of that mix, as you saw in the Dulles Greenway. But there's got to be some kind of a toll collection for the new capacity that you're adding, whether you're talking the Beltway or 270. And the second thing is the gas tax. And I think everyone in this room, if you don't know this now, you should know this now. We're going to have to be paying higher gas taxes in the future than we're paying now. And that's got to be part of the solution, or there will be no money for any of this. And I think, as the last few decades have taught us, the single most expensive approach to transportation and least effective is delay. The single most ineffective. And we learned that on the ICC. The ICC, had it been built on time, would have cost $400 million and would have been paid for on a 90-10 federal-state match with no tolls. That's what we missed by taking 20 years to make a decision. And let's not fall into that same trap with this next round of projects, because as Mike said, we do not have time to waste. The traffic models show what traffic conditions will be like here in 10 to 20 years. We are out of time. And we have spent decades and millions of dollars planning what needs to be done. And now the next thing is we need to figure out how to pay for what we know needs to be done and just do it. And there's no need to study anything else. We just need to implement what we know we need to do. And paying for it is exactly the toughest question.